And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Erthacast number 5. Thank you for tuning in. And joining me today, of course, is Game Master Linus and our very special guest, the CEO of Wizardia, Mindaugas. Hello, viewers. Hello, Linus. And hello, Mindaugas. It's great to have you on. So, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me here, and it's a pleasure to participate and see what you guys are doing here. I've been looking into your project for a while now as well, so I'm excited, to have a discussion with the game master and yourself as well, and of course to get in touch with your community and maybe get them to try Wizardia also.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Linus, how's your day going so far?
It's an awesome day, so it's a pleasure to have Mindaugas here. So, well, let's see how today will go. I'm excited about it.
Great, wonderful. All right, so yeah, as we've already mentioned, Mindaugas is the CEO of Wizardia. So could you quickly introduce the Eartha community to Wizardia? What is it? What is it about? Where is it going? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'll try to be as brief as possible because we usually have very long discussions when we have talks about the lore and about gameplay and so on. So Wizardia is a play-to-earn game. Currently, it is live with our arena game mode. You can try it out for free even on our webpage, wizardia.io. So anyone who's interested, please do. You will see much more info and much more cool images there. In general, it is a turn-based combat game with some elements of base building, which are coming out later on the roadmap. But now we already have a very competitive scene of our arena battles. It's sort of like a chess match when you start playing it, because when you start, you get beaten a lot even by bots, and you kind of get frustrated. I know I did when I first started, but at the same time, it's challenging and it's very interesting to try to figure out how it works and how to actually beat the bot, and then of course how to beat your PvP opponents. So be sure to check it out. It's a world based in the fantasy future, so it's magic, sci-fi kind of mixed together, and has some of dark fantasy vibes. So all the artwork and all the lore is supporting the vibe, and hopefully you all guys feel it. So if you have any questions, I will gladly answer them. But that's a short breakdown on Wizardia.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so you mentioned sci-fi and the lore behind it. So are you a fan of sci-fi yourself?
I am a fan of how you call it pop culture, but I love Star Wars. I've I've been watching Star Wars since I was a kid on black and white TV. Even I saw it once; it was on TV, and you kind of see it evolution evolutionizing in your mind when you rewatch it when you grow older. So I love all the movie series like who that have like deeper meaning. So you can find something every time you watch it. So I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I am truly a fan, and I'm a fan of fantasy as well. Some of the classic games like Witcher, Diablo, or whatever other bigger game names. I've played them all during my lifetime, and Wizardia was part of this merging of all these kind of things. So there's a lot of inspirations behind Wizardia, and our lore master as well is a fan of Dungeons and Dragons as well. We had several sessions of D&D also. So there is a little bit of everything, and hopefully you will see it in the near future, because now it's just battle, which seems simple, even though there's a lot of planning that was put into it.
Awesome. Actually, so speaking about lore, lore is personally very interesting to me. And I think it's one of the things we haven't really talked about that much here in Eartha. Well, the Eartha community does know the backstory about Eartha, how it's a post-apocalyptic world and such. But maybe Linus could bring the Wizardia community that's joining us up to speed about like the backstory of Eartha, how it came to be, what the vibe of Eartha will be, and such.
Yeah, sure. So, well, I am a fan of fantasy also. Star Trek is awesome, and all these games, like Witcher, really inspires, and while we were thinking about what Eartha world should be like. So the whole backstory is about the world that collapsed, where the end of the world has happened, and we all have to live some sort of behind the curtain or inside a virtual environment where our bodies are stored in a safe facility, and our mind is connected to that network that we call Ertha. And here we try to make our mind survive, and to evolve it in a way so that it would eventually be able to rebuild the world that it is, at least right now. So without doing the mistakes that led to the world collapsing. So it's kind of a dark vibe in it all, but it has, I think it goes to a happy ending where you actually get to see what was done wrong in the world, what things we should avoid, and to essentially create a new world with things that would, take the situation that we are here now into a future that we would be all proud of, rather than something that would collapse eventually. So, that's the backstory of Eartha. And when you connect into the game, you essentially are the one that is living inside the network and trying to solve, how to build a world that you want to actually live in, so.
Do you think that's actually what's going to happen though? Like when Eartha fully, launches its like wars and economy features, like do you think that's a feasible thing to imagine, that players will somewhat build a better world, or will they just go back to the same old habits and it's going to be the same thing over again? What do you think about that?
I think it's a playground, for people to understand what they can do and what essentially what happens when you make decisions. It helps you to understand whether your decision in, let's say, building a company would be good or not, depending on all the different aspects on where you build it, whether you have the right materials to do that, or whether you have the workforce to do it and such. To do that in real world, it's very pricey, but it's good, I think, to have that simulation experience where you can test out different things in like real economy, in a world that is somewhat like created by us, but it's created in a way so that you could get a chance to try stuff out. And I feel that you can do that with different types of games, but you can do small parts of it. Even if you play something like MMORPGs, you have that social feature where you can go to a party and try to get right class to to reach the goal. So you have to have that good combination of stuff to actually reach the goal. So with Ertha, I believe that we need to cooperate. So you start playing with a country, and you want that country to succeed. And if it might come to wars between countries, but essentially for everyone to let's say strive and survive this world, you actually have to cooperate, and you have to build bridges. You have to find ways to interact, to build new stuff, to find new items, new blueprints, and that will get you to a good world, rather than trying to steal something from other people or to destroy other city to make your city look better. So yeah. It might go both ways because it's an open world, but I think it's a nice, faster than real life representation of what your actions lead up to.
Yeah. So does Wizardia share any of these similarities where there's some sort of simulation of some part of the real world for the players where they could, maybe practice something in the battle mode or similar things?
Yeah. Usually, when we talk with other projects and like review other projects and other games, uh, many of them have some sort of apocalyptic event. So our world is based in 3421, I think, more or less, looking at our timeline. So there have been many economic and catastrophic events in the past of Wizardia, and we are starting our world with an event called the Tearing, where the apocalyptic event named the Tearing is a bit different to what we imagine nowadays. It's not the climate, it's not any kind of war. It's more of a magical event. That's where the magic started with this event. So because only then the wizards found that they have those powers. Before they were just like people or inhabitants of some sort of like solar system, not particularly ours. Because everything in reality kind of got torn apart since the name, the tearing, and everything got merged into this thing called the core, which you can see a little bit just behind me, behind this wizard samurai. And this is where everything starts. That's where our arenas are based and so on. So I see quite a few similarities, and the fun part is that it is possible to put Ertha and Wizardia realms or worlds into the same timeline, because Ertha could have happened before, because we also have a thing called Vert, where you exist in a virtual reality and it's in the past already. But there's also some bird specialists which survive the tearing and so on. So I think it's great minds think alike kind of situation where you can actually merge things into something, and it's sort of a beginning of metaverse, I would say, which could be connected sometime in the future.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that really fascinates me, to be honest. Like, the lore part of a game is usually what makes it or breaks it behind behind its competitors or something like that. Because, well, if you have a good lore, if you have a good strong community invested behind the lore, like, they're gonna help you imagine and build the game forward, right? Like, these huge companies have done in the past. Like, for example, let's take League of Legends. It has, I think, one of the best lores in video game history. It has such an incredible, built out, fleshed out lore that Riot Games are actually now making a massive game out of it. They're making an MMORPG, which is just completely based on the lore that they have built over the past 10 years together with the community. So I think, yeah, lore is super, super important for the game, but I'm kind of interested in how exactly that lore is like presented to the players in Wizardia. So is that like something you run in every single time you play Wizardia, you battle, or is that something you have to seek out and kind of put the time and effort yourself into, like, finding out about the Wizardia role? Like, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I'm really passionate about this subject. Unfortunately, you cannot experience it so much in the game right now. You have to do some research, you have to participate in our streams where we are sharing some of the lore stories. As well, we're dropping some, images with some story. You can read all the wizards' backstories online as well. So all of them have a backstory, they have some connections. Also, we have ideas of making some sort of short comics as well to get familiarized yourself with the lore. We've done some test versions; they have not been released yet, but that's the
That's
topic
awesome.
that I really love to explore myself, and I think it's really good for the community. It will be released sometime in the future, and later on when our base building mode and comes out, and when we have more of a polished single player experience, that's when you will be able to experience some pieces of the lore as well in the gameplay, because now it's more of a competitive game where you don't get the lore, you have to keep the lore in your head and kind of know which wizards are what in the world, and not only guys who do damage to each other.
Yeah, I think there needs to be like a perfect balance, right? Like there needs to be a lot of game integration for the lore, but then also it doesn't have to be forced. So the players shouldn't
Yeah.
be forced to know the lore, you know? Like some players don't care about that, and some people are diehard fans of like a game's lore, right? So like let's take World of Warcraft for example. There's quests that you can just do and not read anything they say, you know? Like there's a quest and you just it tells you what to do and you just go do it, right? But if you want to like actually learn about the game, learn about the story, you read what the quest actually says, and you read the text, you read what the characters are saying, and so I'm actually interested, Mike. Have we thought about this for Eartha? Like, will our quests contain some sort of lore or things like that? Like, what do you think about that, Linus?
Oh yeah, we actually had a few quests built in our alpha version, and quests I think will be one of the main parts of the game where you actually get to learn on how the mechanics work. Because yeah, you can do the basic tutorial where you can get the main functionalities in, but to essentially feel why these functionalities are added to the game, we really believe that the right way to do this is to go through some sort of a quest, which includes a story, which includes lore in a way where you try to understand what happened, what led to this event, and essentially what do you need to do to make it better. And even though I do like games that are like single player, where you have that whole quest where you're going from start to the end. But from my experience playing games, I think that you have to have that balance between the open world where you actually select your own story, how it goes, and these little parts where that take you through the story that we want you to experience. And I think that that's the way we will go. And but first of all, we have to solve the main problems, main functionalities, to start doing that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the best of both worlds, right? Like you need to have some sort of player. The player needs to choose his own path, but then the game developers, the game creators, need to somewhat guide the player through that path to make that experience as enjoyable as possible. So yeah, and well, a big part of Eartha is play to learn, actually. So we don't only want the players to just spend their time, but actually put them on a path to spend their time wisely and get something out of it. And I'm wondering whether Wizardia has thought about something like this already, or maybe it's already in the game. Basically, players, learning something and taking away from the game, whether it's only for entertainment or some actual knowledge that they can, put into their brains.
Yeah, play to learn and play to earn are a bit of a part of Wizardia. Play to learn, maybe not so much at this time. It's more of a, play to train your brain, maybe, because as I mentioned, the battles are not so long. They take up to usually like 5 minutes, but the idea is that every move really counts. So every mistake you make can really, mean that you will lose the match. It's the same as with chess or checkers, whatever. Checkers does not punish you for losing one figure, but with chess is different. So of course it's very brave of me to compare Wizardia with chess, with the greatest game of all time. It sucks it only has one map. We already have two arenas now, but yeah, chess only has one. Yeah, but what I mean is that it's a challenge anyway. So we experience some frustration as well from some players who don't want to play again. But I know it's not a game for everyone, since biggest challenges are, where you really need to spend time and kind of immerse yourself into. And that's where lore helps you kind of make it easier. Because without lore, it just technical stuff is sometimes boring. So I think we'll try to merge it into a very optimal experience, and we'll probably add more of a play to learn aspect to it. It's a very great idea, and I think guiding players through the game tutorial and help them learn the mechanics of the game and also experience the lore at the same time without being too invasive is a very good concept to go with. So
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned a tutorial, and I think a tutorial for a game should be, well, as smooth of an experience as possible for a new player, to join the game, to basically step by step get taken through the various actions like they can do and learn the game that way instead. Well, some games do the complete opposite. Some games like go by the idea that you just throw someone inside like the hardest possible scenario you already can, and then they'll learn that way. But that makes those players who aren't maybe too keen, maybe they're on the edge, of playing the game or not playing the game, that really usually just makes them not really interested in trying to spend so much effort into learning the game. So again, as with everything we've mentioned, there needs to be like a perfect balance between like a good experience, a good onboarding experience, and then actually playing the full game experience and such. So, Linas, anything to add to that? Maybe from Ertha's, side for about a tutorial.
Yeah, I'm a person in a game where, well, possibly in life, where I don't like tutorials. I like to try it out myself and then kind of learn it through mistakes. That's the way I learned, to use a computer. You actually just press everything you can, and then you see what happens.
Yeah.
But in a game environment where a tutorial is something that kind of so fixed that it kind of makes you feel stupid. Like, yeah, that's obvious that should happen. Is a bad design of tutorial in my kind of view. But what I do believe is you have to to guide the player to show the right buttons at the right time, and to then improve the game so that it would potentially be a quest rather than a tutorial that would have a story, that would have something to guide you through, that would be interesting, rather than to click this and then that will happen. So yeah, you've finished the tutorial. So since I hate those, I would really think games should not be using that.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Yeah,
probably depends on the game. Maybe for a younger audience, it's sometimes nice, or for the people who are new to gaming. For those people, it's always good to see those things. But I agree with you. If you make the experience more intuitive and include it into the game instead of just making them go through the tutorial, I think it's much better. Otherwise, just make tutorial, optional, and then most people will skip it. So you will just do the work just for doing it.
Yeah. So actually, is that what Wizardia is working mostly on at the moment, like a new user experience, or what are you basically like focusing development on at the moment?
Mostly we're perfecting the arena, adding new functionalities to the game. We added some consumables mechanic. Also, the wizard level up is coming. So with the level up, it's a lot of new things that are being added. So then you will have a new spells that you will get when you level up. So the spell, the pool of spells, let's say, right, that the wizards can get, it will grow with time and will make the game more complicated, because now the wizards only have 2 spells each, which is really basic. But when you imagine it, when you have a full skill tree and you have a selection, and then you have all the different kind of combinations with the wizards, it will become more interesting. And for the tutorials, we do some videos as well to explain to people how it works. Also, when we found the game to be a bit more difficult than we anticipated at first, we made some of like special tips on how to create your 3-wizard team, and how to balance it out, and which wizard combinations were winning in the last tournament, for example. So we share those tips to people, and some people even earned a Wizardia wizard cheat sheet with some of the main information about those wizards that they're using in the battle, so they have an advantage a little bit. But also what we had was Wizardia wiki, so it was a surprise to us. I know it's coming live pretty soon, so part of our community made this cheat sheet into a interactive tool. So it's kind of a teaser as well. We haven't announced it anywhere yet, but I already seen what the guys have done, and I was very happy that the community is already building something to help themselves play Wizardia better, and hopefully this will be a very useful tool for the people who are new to the game as well.
Cool. Actually, similar for Eartha, back at the start of this year, when we had a lot of alliances forming, because we had just like announced rules for alliances and basically encouraged players to form partnerships, alliances, and create their own like some sort of guilds. We had so much community development. It was like actually insane, especially from the Brazilian community. We had, I think, 2 or 3 websites, like full-on websites developed just from the community itself without like us even knowing about like filtering Ertha hexes, like NFT types, like NFT counters, like just incredible, like really incredible solutions, to make themselves tools to play the game, well, to create these alliances and to help them guide these alliances, as well as like Discord bots, like hex lookups in Discords, in their alliance Discords. So yeah, the community response in these types of projects, games, it's super super important. And recently I've also been thinking about a wiki for Eartha. We're definitely going to need that eventually, about like the various items, blueprints, and properties, and even countries, I would say. So again, the community is going to be super 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 important for us regarding that aspect, and they're really going to help us get the game along, and to really help new players get on board with it. And so I'm thinking, how was the community response towards Wizardia so far? Like, how's the battle mode? Do you take into account what the community feedback is heavily, or do you just take some small suggestions here and there about how to continue developing the game?
We keep in constant contact with the community, and especially with the people who are, more constructive, and you can really see they are trying to help. So we have discussions with them. Some of the people just write to me. So if I see that there's, constructive advice, so then I usually write back to them. Maybe not the same day, but I always try to take the time and have this discussion. And some of these things we take into consideration and put it in somewhere in our lore shelf, or into the game development queue. And when the time is right, we implement them. There's not been much of the input that we used, but mainly what we did now was improving the UI according to community suggestions, and what complaints they had, what they wanted to see. And we have, I think, already the 3rd version of the UI, which is much more intuitive and much easier to use. So community is very important, because they are the ones keeping the game alive, and they're the ones that are passionate about it. It's not just us. So I think it's very important to have this dialogue, to listen to them, and to try to make the conversation very constructive, because it helps them, it helps us, and then they know that their thoughts will be heard, and someday they will be implemented in the game as well.
Exactly. And you mentioned constructive criticism, and I think that is the key point here. That usually in crypto, because there's money involved, there's a lot of emotion. Especially when the market crashes, or when someone doesn't think something is going to happen or happens, and things like that. So sometimes, I would imagine you as well as us, you get some non-constructive criticism. But what's important here is to really stress the point that we do listen to the community if it's constructive and normal, a discussion about a feature, and not, exact. I hate, I read everything, even like the hateful, stuff and things like that, and I do take that into account. But I feel like when there's a normal constructive discussion with the community, it can really lead to much better things than just either not listening to the community feedback at all, or just having hateful criticisms, and not that doesn't really spark any help, or any sort of healthy discussion towards improving the project. But again, it's crypto, so I can understand at least somewhat the frustration that does come out of some community members. I think it's only natural when there's money involved, but it is what it is. So actually talking about crypto. So how is Wizardia doing these days? Like, what's the feeling you have? What's the feeling at the office about like the whole crypto shenanigans that's going on in the market, like the FTX crashes and things like that? How has your mood been lately? How are these things really affecting you?
We're trying to stay calm. Of course, the first hit was, when the NFT sale market in general, it went down 99% from last year's August, right? So
Yeah.
it was a big hit, and we needed to make our team a little bit smaller. So our development took a little bit of a hit because we were not able to, support the same speed of development. But it doesn't mean we're stopping. We're thinking, positively about it, and we have this slogan in front of us now. Bear market is the best time to build, right? So all the
Yes.
best
Yes.
projects are born in the bear market, and that's why we want to work on our product as much as we can, less on marketing and advertising, but building the community and building the product in the bear market, I think, is the most important thing. Because when the bull market comes and the play to earn aspect is going up as well, because then the token price should go up and so on, uh, then is the time to really, to let yourself be heard and,
Yes. Yes.
go for marketing, and then everyone is more interested when the mood all around is much better and is more of a greed factor time than a fear factor.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't, start building once the bull market actually comes, because a bull market is super short compared to the bear market, and developing anything takes just so much time that crypto just does not inherently have. Because crypto is just, well, time is. I think time is the biggest enemy of crypto, right? The biggest enemy and the biggest friend. Because with time you can make a lot of money in crypto, but if you don't have enough time, then you're just screwed basically. So yeah, I think we share a lot of the same feelings here at Eartha as well, right? Like the most important thing is build, and I know, well, the phrase really caught on speed like I think about 6 months ago, like the best time to build is in the bear market, and I think it's been kind of overused now at this point, but still, like it's still relevant, and there's like you can say it a million times, it's still true, and I think that's what every project that's still here, every project that's still gonna try to fulfill what they've set their minds to, release the things that they plan to release during the bull market. Well, I mean that they thought of during the bull market, there's still gonna release them, and that's what really gonna separate the losers from the winners, so to say, simply. So yeah, so as well for the community, I would imagine that during the bear market, the community probably took a hit as well. Like, how's your engagement been in Wizardia? Like, I would assume it's kind of decreased, but have you found a way to keep the most loyal people there and following and still cheering on Wizardia?
Yeah, it was actually interesting because we did some review of our Discord stats, and the total number of people that are engaged every week is lower, but the number of active people every day has actually increased. So I think there's just more of a community that's already forming around the game, since we only launched our alpha arena version in August, so it's quite recently, and the first people who joined the community were more of a investor type of
Yeah.
people who were buying the revenue
Yeah.
generating
Yeah.
NFTs, and they were not gamers per se, right? So I think it's more of a gamers thing to be joining an active community, because
Yes. Yeah.
investors, they want more news, they want updates, and they read them and they leave. And they're also part
Yeah.
of the community, but they're a different they have different needs. And for players, it is more about engagement, about finding out secrets about the game, some leaks, some drops, whatever. And I think we're in that stage where the gamer community is starting to grow. Of course, the bear market is a bit in a way with that, but hopefully, it will start rising soon, and we are ready for that because we have people talking to the community. I'm there also sometimes, and we have these gameplay streams where we have our most loyal people come and battle against me or other team members. We also have those little interactions. So yeah, I think community is number one, and hopefully it will grow. And the people that are there, we already care about them, so that they will stay and they will help us, accept new members as well to the community.
Yeah, you mentioned a very good point that gamers form the communities that we want to see here. Basically, we need to get more gamers into the whole crypto and Web3 space, and I think this is, well, we've talked about this in the past, but I think this is really going to be the shift of like the next few years, and hopefully the next bull market is that crypto and Web3 just gain a lot of adoption from the real true gamers, and I hope that is because the games in Web3 and crypto, crypto games are actually fun, because well, these like last bull run top games like Axie and things like that, well, they weren't exactly like the traditional game in a sense where you really just played it for money, right? Most people, I think 99.9%, like something crazy like that, only played Axie for money. If there wasn't any money in it, they just wouldn't play the game. And I think like the next generation of Web3 games are just going to be games that are inherently fun and that are just fun to play no matter whether you're earning money or not. And that's just another aspect on top of a good game. It's the part where you can really make something out of yourself, learn new things, and actually earn yourself some money, and maybe that's going to become your full-time job. So yeah. So what I actually want to ask one more question about Wizardia. How do you differ from your main competitors, so to say? I think there's quite a few games that have some sort of an arena mode, a battle mode. So what makes Wizardia really unique, in that factor? Like, do you have some sort of mechanics that aren't seen anywhere else, or maybe your earning mechanics are different? Like, could you talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, it's a very wide topic. The first thing I will connect to the last thing you mentioned is about being fun to play. Some people might argue it's already fun to play for me, but I know it will be much more fun when we develop it further. But we like to think of ourselves not as a click to earn game, but a play to earn game, when with an emphasis on play. And in the future, when we have this base building mode, so the fun thing is that with all the Wizards arena, it will be expanding a lot. When you have crafting mechanics, you will earn different materials, also connect them, find recipes that you will be able to use to craft different consumables, and also use those resources to make your wizards stronger as well. So it's not going to be an experience based game where you usually gain XP and you level up. So here you will need to farm some resources and find out which ones you need, and only then you can level up your wizard. As well, we have some breeding mechanics, which is more quite common with most projects. But the idea is that these wizards that we have now, the original ones, they are limited, and there will never be more of them. And the most population of the wizards, when these wizards end or when we launch this ability, will be created by the players themselves. So they will be able to summon new wizards to the world. Other things is the proto spells. So it's a new NFT that's coming up next year, but it's one of the things that I'm most excited about. So proto spells are kind of a next level spells that are unique, and players will be able to find them in a spell discovery minigame. And it's a chance that somebody will be the only one to own some sort of a proto spell, and they will have a choice what to do with it. So they can use it for themselves and have all the power of this proto spell, which might be anything from some sort of a new mechanic, or maybe a blueprint to some sort of a thing. Or they can choose to share it with other guys for a profit, of course. So you kind of rent it out to others to use, you earn from it, or you choose to have the power for yourself and kind of hoard the protospell to yourself and only have the power for yourself. So these little mechanics, and of course, I think the art style is one of the things that we are most proud of. And if you check out the website, you check out the images, especially the animated ones of the wizards, of all the arenas and the surroundings. I think it's one of the things that set us apart. And when you are interested in the lore and you connect all those things together, I think that's when you find your audience, right? So uh, every game is not for everyone, and each game has a niche where you can really connect some sort of audience. And I think we're starting to find our audience. And as the game develops and there's more functionality, that's when it's much easier to sell the vision and sell the game, because then people can try it out, not only hear about it like they are now.
You actually have a very good point, because Wizardia really does have a unique art style. It's like super sci-fi, but at the same time, it's, it just has this vibe that I haven't really seen anywhere else. And do you think it helps you with marketing, with like getting new players on board? They see like a picture from Wizardia and they think, oh, like, what is that? What is Wizardia? This looks cool. Like, do you get any sort of that feedback from new players that they like the art style?
Yeah, I think most of the new people actually are attracted by this. And the older people, I mean, the older community members who've been there for a longer time, they kind of see it already as a given, right? They don't really see it as much more different because they get used to it. But usually when we have our streams, people still give compliments about, how it looks great, and how they want to see more of that wizard, or some of more environments. It's a problem because our artist only has 24 hours a day, and he also needs some sleep as well. So we try to reward our community with nice views and images, because it's part of the game, just to immerse yourself, because lore
Yeah. Yeah.
and the art, I think, is the base for the game immersion. Not everybody
Yeah.
needs it. Some are just immersed by mechanics and, as you said, earning or winning or destroying someone. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's very important to feel yourself in the game and kind of that it would make sense to play it. So you know what you're fighting
Yeah.
for, or what kind of wizard you are using, and is he good or bad, or how you imagine him, and you kind of want to maybe even make yourself feel like the wizard that you're playing. It's kind of a
Yeah.
role play type of thing.
Yeah, I've always had this thought that good visuals, eye candy, basically really are really is free marketing, right? Because people are just inherently by nature attracted to things that look, cool or nice or beautiful. So when you have these cool visuals, the cool effects, like that's why so many games make these, incredibly cinematic trailers that just look good. It makes some people just want to, try out the game, even though maybe they don't like the mechanics. Maybe they think, oh, maybe I won't like the mechanics, but why not just, look at it for just a few hours? Because it's still, a rewarding experience. And I'm thinking maybe that helps you a lot in like places like Twitter, or like, basically social media sites. I would imagine you as Wizardia post a lot of, like these cool cinematics and like cool visuals. Like, does that give you like more engagement, having these, cool effects like on Twitter? Because crypto Twitter, I think, is mostly visual based. It's like mostly NFTs, like cool pictures, some Bored Apes, some, like crypto punks, but then as well as like really cool, like artists, NFT artists and things like that. So like, have you had a good experience with that on Twitter?
Yeah, we post on several social networks, not only on Twitter. Of course, the more beautiful images, especially when the market was more hot, it was much more engagement. I don't know if
Yeah.
it helps us more than the other projects, but I truly believe it attracts people's eye, and people enjoy, and then that's why they come to us, and then they see, they get familiarized, that they want to see what the game is about. And we also try to have our game looking as close as possible to the concept art. Of course, you cannot get that much detail, even
Yeah.
the $50-100 million games which have a huge budget, they don't really get that kind of detail. So we try to be as close as possible to that. But at the same time, we also want to make the art as beautiful as possible and give the players a chance to immerse themselves in this world.
And players would need to have like incredibly strong computers, to even like run super high detail. Like people sometimes see a trailer, like let's say like the newest Battlefield, and they think, oh, why does my game not look that incredible? But then like, do you have a 3090 RTX $5,000 computer? Like, of course it's not going to be like that crazy,
Yeah, so now you need 4090 actually.
Well, 4090 now,
it's
exactly.
Just been released, and I tried to look up how much it would cost to build a monster PC now, so it's around 8,000 now.
Wow.
Oof.
If you want to go with the 4090 and the newest i7 or i9 processor, it's just insane. So it's better to just buy a card.
I'll have to wait for the crypto market to bounce back quite strong, quite heavily until I can look into that. But the reason I mentioned Twitter also is, well, I think Twitter has been like trending quite a lot these like last few weeks, especially because like what happened with it. So what's your take on like this whole Elon Musk takeover? Like, do you think it's a better thing for crypto now, or like is it getting worse? Because I've really seen a lot of engagement now on Twitter, especially for crypto stuff, and because I'm guessing because Musk is, well, quite an avid shiller of like Dogecoin, and like he talks about Ethereum and Bitcoin. Basically, is that a good thing for the crypto market? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, if you're asking me, because Linus has not been talking much now, so I'm
you'll
feeling
have,
like
I'm letting you add.
Yeah, you'll both have the opportunity to answer.
Very good, because I thought maybe he's already sad and he wants to share. Yeah, so I've read quite a bit of things of people kind of criticizing Musk of being stupid and acting, irrationally at some point. And I was, having thoughts that I think he's being strategic with some things, and sometimes he's making himself look stupid on purpose, because you never know what's actually going on and what he's actually doing with Twitter. Of course, we see those crazy tweets with like accusations and like this inhuman behavior and like all this. I still think that he's a businessman, and he wants to make money off all the projects, and he wants to be the person who, if he touches something, it turns to gold. And I think that's what he's trying to do in some weird way, which I cannot see yet, but I kind of have this belief that it will turn out for the best, and maybe it's already in motion, and the Twitter plan might be connected to the new bull market plan. That's my conspiracy theory.
That might probably happen, and in my view, I think that Elon has a good mind that knows how to essentially take a thing and make it viral, and then make money out of it. And that, well, we can see that from his place in the top wealthiest people in the world. And I think that possibly he might have made Twitter from a business that is actually losing money into a business that potentially will earn a lot of money in the upcoming weeks, even if it's not, or maybe it's even doing that now, So I do believe that you can hear stuff like layoffs and him being really hard on people to release something new in a especially short period of time. But I think that he has a plan about that, and I think he did well before. Not everything goes as planned. Obviously, sometimes something happens that you can't be sure to know before that happens, but from my perspective, I think he's doing all right, and Twitter will probably be quite all right.
I think he's gonna be rivaling the amount of free marketing he gets with Donald Trump, actually, because I think Well, I think Trump had like the most amount of free marketing, like when compared to like dollar amounts ever in like the history of the world during his 2016 campaign, because his strategy was to just say so much outrageous things that the media just wrote about him for free. They couldn't shut up about him. Like that's literally all they talked about. And I think Musk is kind of employing the same strategy here, because there's just so many articles coming out every single day about Twitter that it's literally just completely free marketing for him. There's just so much talk about Twitter, and Twitter engagement is so high at the moment that it's really like interesting to see whether he'll be able to fully make this to the best of his advantage, or whether like this is more of a fluke. Like I think it remains to be seen what happens going forward, whether like this will persist or whether like it'll die down and maybe it'll just fizzle out of existence. But I think as just currently living in this exact moment, it's doing much better than it was doing like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Because well, I'm on Twitter every single day. It's like exactly a part of my job right here. I look at the trends, I look at what the communities are doing, I look what our community is doing, what other NFT and crypto and not even NFT and crypto communities are doing. And what I'm seeing is just so much more engagement and so much more talk on Twitter every single day that it's really becoming like, if it keeps continuing in this pace, like it very well could just become the number one social platform by activity in the world. Because I know so many like people, just like my relatives and such like that, don't use these platforms, have started talking about it recently because like they heard someone talk about something from some article. And so this word of mouth and like this free marketing like he's getting by just being as controversial as possible, I think is really interesting. Like I love any marketing strategy that works, and this seems to so far have been working pretty well. So
like, what do you think about the blue check mark thing with the $8 that he tried to sell?
yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how exactly he's gonna handle it from now, because once he said that, I think he like retracted some of his statements and then like said something else, and then it changed again, and now like I think it's gonna be like two different versions of someone being verified and someone just having Twitter premium basically. And I really do not see any problem with Twitter premium at all. Like, I mean, pretty much every social network by now has some sort of a subscription service, like YouTube Studio, like Pro or whatever it's called, like so you don't get ads. Like Twitch has a Prime, a subscription button, you pay for Netflix and things like that. You don't have to pay for Twitter Blue. So I could just completely not see any problem with that. So yeah, but again, I'm not exactly like sure what iteration of it is currently going to be in place, because like I think it keeps changing like every single week. Like some part of it is changing, and that's also I think part of like the plan to keep this marketing train chugging along, is to just keep releasing like new information and retracting old information, which really just makes the media cycle just as fresh as possible.
That's really agile, from his perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Mindaugas?
I've been thinking a lot about it as well, but I don't really have a big opinion on it. But I think you are right with the subscription-based things. Every service like WinRAR, for example, also has a chance to be paying. So,
never paid for WinRAR. Still never paid for WinRAR.
No one paid. That's why I'm bringing up this
Exactly.
example. You don't have to,
Exactly.
but this is something that people actually did to help people to have a good piece of software and use it for free. And only people who want to pay, they will pay. So I had this goal that that someday I have to pay for it, and I will probably even print out this I don't know, receipt or the message that they give me, thank you for paying, and print it out or put it
And
on
make it an
on a shirt and wear it as a shirt, or even make an NFT of it. So I think it's something to be proud of, to pay for WinRAR. And paying for Twitter, I think it's much easier for most people, even though it's free. But if they offer some cool functionality that will be quality of life and not a pay to win type of thing where you really, you just cannot get some sort of a simple service uh, just without paying. So if they make it right, I think it's a good thing because it has to make money, and Elon has to make money, and everybody has to get a better service. So if it does that, then why not?
I think it's pretty funny and ironic that like most of the media outlets that are like complaining about like the Twitter, blue $8 thing, like most of them are paid anyway. Like you open an article and then they like pop up a message that you have to pay for the journal subscription service to actually read the article. So I think it's really funny like the hypocrisy that's going on. Like we live in a world where you just we live in a world of micropayments basically, right? Like mainstream gaming, mainstream websites, everything takes away like a little dollar from you, like a dollar
But
here,
don't
a dollar
forget,
there.
most of the stuff is free. That's
Yes,
why you have
still.
the microtransactions. So,
Exactly.
when it's
Exactly.
free, then you get microtransactions because the
Exactly.
company has to survive. So I
Yes.
think a good mix of this free and paid thing, which seems fair, and it does not seem scammy. Because when you
Mm-hmm.
go, as you mentioned, the article thing, if you go somewhere you want to read it and they make you pay for it, then you have this anger at the
Yeah.
Yeah.
news portal
Yeah.
or the website,
Yeah.
whatever, and you have this memory of them being bad guys. So I think what Ellen needs to do is to make him look as a good guy and make people smile when they pay the $8.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess we'll see how this, plays out in the following,
Yeah.
weeks and months. Um, so yeah, I think it would be a good time to wrap up. But maybe as a last question, we pretty much always ask our guests here, like, so how do you see GameFi and the whole Web3 space, and especially your project Wizardia? Where do you see it in 5 years? How do you think this will play out? Like this hopefully upcoming bull run in like the next year or two, hopefully, and like after that, going after that, like what do you imagine the space to be by then?
Yeah. So about Wizardia, maybe first. So I imagine it to be not only finished, to be finished with what's on our roadmap, but also to have evolved into a bigger communities, to have summoned a lot of new wizards, and it's I would like to see our vision fulfilled, and to have all this lore connected with these beautiful visuals and the gameplay together, and of course to have good instincts on what to develop next. Because when you put it on paper in a concept is one thing, and when you try to adapt it to the gameplay, sometimes some things change. So I think it's important that we find the right path to change the things correctly, hopefully with the help of our community. And I would love to have maybe at least several hundred K of monthly players that we have and enjoy. So that would be something that I dream about before going to sleep. And the market,
That's
of
awesome.
course, another thing is I hope it survives, and I'm sure it will survive.
Yeah.
And the bear market, the current one, and maybe there's going to be another one or several of them in the meantime. It will make the markets and play to earn and crypto gaming stronger in general, I think. And mm,
It will.
all the strong projects should uh, make good products, and only these good products will make all the spaces stronger. So it's very important for the ones that survive to really deliver on their promises, because only this will make. But other things is just, I think we're on the right path, and this play to earn type of mechanic already existed before, right? In World of Warcraft, someone was selling gold, right? And they
Yeah.
were playing to earn, literally. So
In RuneScape as well, yeah.
yeah. So most of the big MMORPGs have this. So I hope that we will make this connection of this illegal trade of gold into a regulated, legalized crypto world, where everything is not in the gray area in most countries, but it's as understandable as euro or dollar. And many people will just choose this profession as as a means of living, and not only going to a 9 to 5 work. Why not spend it on Wizardia or Ertha?
Exactly. Yeah.
True.
And Linus, what's your take on this?
I mean, I do believe that crypto is here to stay. It's just a matter of time, and I hope that we are here to be able to see it be the beauty that it could be. It might take a few years. It might take a few like tens of years, but the idea is that I don't believe that any collapse of any exchange could potentially wipe crypto out of sight. It will either way be here, and the more good and quality games will be out there, it will make the market more less scammy that it is now, and I do believe that that's where we are going. That's where we are ahead at, and I hope that we all fulfill the stuff that we want to see the games to look like.
Exactly. Awesome. All right. So the last word for Wizardia, you can shout out, your social channels where our community can find you guys, Twitter, Discord, things like that.
Yeah. So main thing, just go to wizardia.io. You will find all the links there. You can find out about the game, and if you haven't heard, we have a free practice mode that you can try out. You will get some random wizards that you will be able to play and see what the game is like. And if you're interested, then you can play one of our tournaments as well, and will get a share of our prize pool. So one of our tournaments just ended today, and we're sending the prizes to people tomorrow. So it's already play to earn, at least a little bit. So if you are good at the game, then you can earn.
Awesome. All right, and as for us, you guys, you can also find us on Twitter, which is just twitter.com/ERTHAGame. Join our Discord, which is discord.gg/Ertha. And of course, our other social channels, you can also find them on eartha.io. So I think this has been awesome. A pretty awesome, except something is exploding, I think, behind this, but it's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. No.
Maybe let's finish with the last question that we have in the chat. So
Sure.
It's a question for Mindaugas. What do you think? Will there be a Wizardia tower in Ertha?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think we will have to make a separate discussion about it. You will have to brief me on more of a game mechanics, because I have searched your globe, looked also maybe which spot or hex, how you call it, I would like to get. So why not? We can discuss it, and maybe there can be a separate stream about it, how we will build it. I don't know if it's gonna be a tower. Maybe it's gonna be some sort of a different thing that we try to build, or
Maybe
or
like an
something
arena.
that's maybe a Wizardia arena could be,
Yeah.
something connected to Ertha, so we can, merge powers and already intersect on some metaverse elements already at this early stage.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so yeah, that kind of wraps things up. Thank you so much again, Mindaugas, for joining us today. Thank you, Linus, of course, for making the time as always. You're a busy man developing Ertha and such. So yeah, as always, we'll see you next time. This has been the Ertha Metaverse, signing out. Take care and see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.